Hello everyone. I'm Itunuloluwa, and I do DevOps, and I work also on the back end. I was previously with Andela, and right now I kind of work freelance. So I'm going to be talking today about Terraform infrastructure and using that to build blue-green deployments in AWS. I guess a lot of you out there would have wondered of different ways, or would have definitely come across this at some point in time. So what I'm going to be running you through today is the importance behind infrastructure as code, just a brief snippet on that, the importance of blue-green deployments, and how you can do that using Terraform. So we go to the next thing, which is the 3 big whys. So you'd be wondering, why do you have to automate? And why do you have to automate using Terraform? There's tons of other tools out there. We have CloudFormation, we have Azure ARM templates. We have Google also has what they use to automate. So there's tons of tools out there, but why use Terraform? And then we'll also talk about why blue-green deployments, right? So during the course of this, I'm going to run you through this basic things, and then we're going to have a little demo setting up a very simple to-do app using Terraform and implementing. We're going to push a change to it that is going to definitely show in the production. All of that will be implemented with Terraform using blue-green deployments. So why automate? The reason why you automate is simple. It's just these 3, right? There's more, but let's focus on these 3. You want rapid delivery, recovery, right? For companies these days, with the pace at which tech is moving, you really want to move as fast as possible. And you can't just do that if you do things manually, because mistakes are going to come up and you wouldn't be able to recover as fast as possible. So you want rapid recovery and delivery, you need to automate. Secondly, we'll talk about predictability, consistency, and repeatable builds. That's another very key thing. You don't want a case whereby today you deploy an update and you try to deploy the same update the next day following maybe spreadsheets or whatever it is that was used back in the days, and you end up having some sort of errors that you just didn't anticipate. As software developers, we're all familiar with the whole concept of, but it worked on my system. What's going on here? You know, that's basically what causes it. There's some sort of difference between where you're coming from and where you're taking this. So when you automate, it helps you solve all of that, because you would have handled all those issues in your code, in your infrastructure as code. And then basically all of this boils down to greater productivity. You can get your automated code and just run it. It runs, comes up with your stuff within minutes, as against you having to do this thing stepwise. You end up spending hours of you not even being sure you're going to get it right. So that's the reason why you automate. Now we come down to Terraform. Why do you have to use Terraform against the other guys? In Terraform, you have one configuration, and it gives you services across multiple cloud providers. If you go over to the Terraform website, you're going to see that they offer services across the major cloud providers and even little ones. It's pretty much whatever cloud provider you're looking for would definitely be there for you to use with Terraform. And then there's a very strong community base with Terraform. You can always find somebody to answer questions and help you with debugging. And a simple Googling could help you with a lot of problems that you're going to come across. Then talking about hybrid infrastructure, if you're going to be working with some of the other cloud infrastructure as code services, you may run into situations whereby you cannot create hybrid solutions. Speaking about maybe ARM templates being for Azure and CloudFormation being for AWS, you may run into a situation whereby if you want to integrate different cloud services, you may not be able to do that with any of those guys. But with Terraform, you can easily just put in those and it flies for you. So that's that. Talking about blue-green deployments, really, a few people may be wondering why blue-green deployments. Why can't I just go with rolling deployments? Why can't I just go with kill the server, restart it? Well, best practices. right? So one of the things that Blue Green deployment gives you is an ease of recovery, right? So you can basically spin up your updates and keep them, right? And keep your existing deployment while your update is getting live and you're testing it to see if it's functioning the way you want it to. If it doesn't, you can easily just revert to what you had previously at the split of a second without your users even noticing anything, apart from, say, UI changes. So secondly, buttressing the point I made earlier, zero downtime. It's pretty amazing when you just refresh your page and you see fresh updates. It's pretty amazing for anyone, I guess. You're working on your Google page and you just refresh and all of a sudden the page has been modified. It's pretty like more than you having to say, get an email that, hey, we're gonna be down for 3 hours because we're trying to make an update. So zero downtime, Blue Green deployments give you that. Now we'll talk about eliminating configuration drift. Now, the beauty of blue-green deployments is that it works with immutable infrastructure. So this is what I mean. It basically takes your whole existing environment and trashes it and gets you a totally brand new environment. So in this way, you don't go in there trying to modify configurations. You basically actually coming up with it as fresh. And this is beautiful because your configuration is always true to your single source of truth, which is your infrastructure as code as defined in your version control system. So that gives you just that, and it's pretty awesome. Now, talking about canary compatibility, like I mentioned earlier on the first point of ease in recovery, you are able to deploy changes and actually see them work in action for some of your users before you gradually move everybody in there. The point this does for you is that it helps you to minimize the surface area for failure. So assuming, for example, that you make a deployment, a fresh one, and you send it out there to your users and it actually has a problem. Now you could have easily made a deployment in which you start from, say, 5%. So you make your new deployment and you serve it to just 5% of your user base. It works fine with the 5%, you can increase it to 10 and gradually keep increasing it until you get cover the 100 and you can discard of the previous environment. The beauty there is if you run into any errors or challenges, you can easily just kill the new environment and let the old environment continue to run and to serve everybody. Meanwhile, you would have also limited the number of people who are to encounter errors in your deployment. So those are very key points, and I'm pretty sure you all would have run into situations that would have had you thinking of these things. So those are what I have to offer. We'll do a quick demo with this. I came up with a little small approach to automate this whole process, and that will be using Terraform, all right? So this, for example, is a classic DNS implementation of blue-green deployments. It's pretty visual. What I did isn't this complicated, but this kind of just describes everything. So you have a Route 53 endpoint here. You have an environment that's currently live with your load balancer and your instances behind it, right? And your database isolated somewhere. And then you have an update, and then you spin up the update, which is going to be this, the green guy on your left-hand side. Apologies for that. The green guy on your left-hand side. And then once you're done, you can easily just take the pointing of the Route 53 and shift it to your green, all right? It becomes live, all right? And then take the database, point your green to the master, while the blue still stays idle. And when your green has worked just fine, you can easily trash the blue. And the cycle continues for another deployment. So that's basically what blue-green deployments is. So now let's run into the demo, all right? You can go over to the links below in the slide. You'd find the repositories for the demo. So what I did was to build a web server configuration, infrastructure as code, to handle the uniqueness of the code I'm working on here. And then I have a generic HashiCorp Terraform, which handles the whole process of deploying it blue-green. And there's a couple of scripts in there that help us handle that smoothly. So I'll run down to that right now. So, okay, so I have a few scripts here. If you go over here, that's we have the scripts which are decommission the blue, decommission the old project, and we have a launch green and upgrade green to prod, right? So we're going to start with launching a brand new green environment, all right? So that's going to be just a moment, scripts, and then we'll launch a green environment. So this is what Terraform gives to you. Pretty swift. It's just going to come up with the environment without you having to do anything in there manually. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them up in the chat. I'll respond as soon as we're done. So what is happening over here right now is the server is coming up. It's loading up all the data and deploying a green version of the server. So this will take a few more seconds and it will be up. All right. Just give me a second. Okay, apparently I didn't get the environment ready before running this, so forgive me for that. I'm just gonna do that quickly, all right?
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I think you need to switch your screen.
Okay.
Sorry, I hope I didn't mess up your flow, but I figured you'd rather know.
Oh, I didn't realize. Please, what is showing right now?
So right now I see the holding slide for the demo and then the GitHub links.
Oh, that's, I didn't realize that, all right?
Okay.
So just a second, please. Let's do this. Okay, so yeah. All right, so I forgot to set up the environment for this before I run it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just clearing out what already exists in there to get it ready for the fresh run. This will take a second or a bit of a minute. Okay, so I am with this, we are ready for the deployment. So that would be so we're launching a new green environment here. And I've set up what they call it. I've set up DNS resolution also. All of that is defined within my Terraform configuration. You can actually just go over to the links of the repo and you'd be able to see every bit of what is done in there. It's pretty self-intuitive if you have some knowledge of Terraform. So you'd be able to understand what is going on in there. So at this point, the server has been created. It's connecting to it via SSH to set up my configuration as defined in the code also. All right, so we have a successful deployment and our green environment is ready. So we would be able to check that here. This is the output, and that would be the link to the load balancer. So I'm going to open this up. It may take a moment to load up because the load balancer would have to come live before we can access it. Okay, so this is it. Of course, it's still trying to come live. This will take a moment. And just so we don't lose time, I'm going to promote this to, this isn't what is going to happen in an ideal situation, which is going to be live, because you wouldn't want to put something to your DNS which isn't yet live. But just to save us some time, while the load balancer is resolving in the background, I'm going to run the script that is going to put this up to attach this to our DNS name so we can have it available at that. All right, so I'm just going to run that already. Just a moment. So over here, what that would be scripts. All right, so it would take that and attach it to that DNS name and would have it available at the DNS address I showed you earlier. Okay, so I just checked it out, and the green site is live. Of course, the DNS isn't ready yet. Oh, okay, apparently it's ready. So I'll take you there now so you can see that. Just a moment. Where's this guy? So if we come over here, you'd see this here. All right, so this is a simple to-do list. I guess DNS is still trying to come to life here. So that's, you know, the time to live thingy. But meanwhile, we can access it on the load balancer. It has resolved over here. So what we have here is simply a to-do list, a very simple version of it. And of course, it has some bugs. So you see over here, you can add an empty list, which is not accurate. You can just type in anything you want in there, you add it. It's pretty interesting. A friend of mine built this and I decided to use it up. So this is what we have in version 1. So what we are going to be deploying in version 2 is going to be a new one that is going to have a new clean blue background. And it's also going to have delete and completed check marks here. Yeah, and you wouldn't be able to, of course, add blank spaces this way. All right, let's see if this guy has resolved. Time to live is still coming up, so we'll wait for that for a bit. It's not exactly in my hands. So while that is going on over there, we can come over here and deploy a fresh green environment. Now, here's the idea. The current environment that is running is our blue environment now that it is running and it's live. So we're going to deploy an update, all right? So I'll come over here. I already have a pull request ready for this so that we don't cause any delays. Right. Can you please let me know if you see this? Can
I do.
someone
I
just put that? Okay,
see
awesome.
the to-do list.
So just a moment. Still with you. Okay, do you see a pull request, please?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Glad to know that. Okay, so this pull request basically puts in all those configurations that we have. So what we're gonna do is to merge this into master, and then we create a green environment, which is gonna have all of this. All right, so what we just do is merge this pull request. All right, so we have that merged in. So we can go in now and create a green environment that is going to go in there and replace the current version of this program, which we have live. All right, let's check if the DNS has resolved already. What's up with this guy? Okay, this is taking a while to resolve. I didn't expect it to take this long, but it's still taking a while. All right. But anyways, this is it from coming straight directly from the load balancer. Okay, so we have that. All right, I wouldn't hold up on this. So I'm just gonna go back and create a new green environment. All right, so I'll go over here. We're going to deploy another green environment. All right, so that's going to be just a moment. I keep forgetting the name of the script. Okay. On screen. This time we're not going to use the true tag because, oh, screen sharing is paused. Oh, sorry guys, please. Sorry about that.
Right now,
Resume
I
share.
see. Oh, now I see your terminal.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to do this now. We're launching a new share. Oh, sorry, we're launching a new deployment, a new green environment with the updates. Okay, so our green environment is live now, all right? And we have our changes in there. We're just gonna need to have to wait for a second for this to resolve with the load balancer so we can then get it to connect to our DNS, which unfortunately has refused to resolve. I'm still checking it over here and it's taking forever. Unfortunately, there's no way I could possibly hasten it because it's an alias setting. It's an alias setting in Route 53, and unfortunately, you can't control time to life for alias settings in Route 53. So there's pretty much nothing I can do about this than to just wait and keep trying it. All right. So we have this. Let's see what comes up here. Okay, this is still resolving at the load balancer level. Once it's up, I'll let you know. It takes something close to 3 minutes to resolve with the load balancer that it's live because of the health checks. So still very much with you all. I'm just going to share this quickly with you since the DNS is refusing to resolve, just so you have a little bit of insight into what's going on with the DNS. All right. So just take a look at this for a moment. All right. I guess you see this. Some DNS entries here. You see over here, this is it. This is the alias pointing here to the load balancer. All right, that is it. And if you look over here, this first guy is that load balancer. You see that that's Terraform example ELBA as it matches example ELBA over here. It's just not resolving for whatever reason. All right, let's try that one more time. Still not resolving. All right, so I'm just gonna go past that, all right, and get the other green version to live. So this is our green version. I guess this should have resolved by now, and it's live actually. So let me show you this, just 1 second. So that's it, that's this version, all right? You see that? So it comes with a blue background, and well, if you try to add that, you get an error. You can put in something new and add that and add that. We have all of that. And of course, you can tick this as done, you can delete and all of that. So this is a new update. And it's unfortunate this refused to resolve. So what you would have seen is that this would have the previous, what do you call it? This would have the previous version. This current page where I am on would have the previous version of the code, right? And then when I run the script I'm about to run right now, it's going to, by one refresh, change to this. Right now we have this. This is the previous one in the load balancer. Sorry, this is not it. Just one moment.
While we're giving it a moment, we do have a question in the YouTube chat. If you'd like to take it, I can read it to you.
Yeah, please do.
Ebenezer is wondering why instead of redeploying the whole infrastructure, why don't you just deploy your code into a new auto-scaling group?
Okay, all right. So that is also a very good possibility. All right, you can deploy it into a new auto-scaling group. But interestingly, what you should know is a new auto-scaling group is basically still going to redeploy the particular instance or container that actually holds the particular code, right? That is running the program, right? So it's just not deploying your network and your load balancers and all. So yeah, there's actually nothing wrong with that. And that is probably a lot smoother way of doing it. But you know, this is just a very simple demo. So we can't be going into fine graining and all of that. So that's the reason. So yes, you're pretty much accurate, Ebenezer. That's a good way of doing it also, because that still stays immutable. It gets rid of the old server and just brings in a new one. So it's still smooth, yeah. Okay, so I'm running out of time here. I can't wait for this guy anymore. So I'm just gonna, wait. I'm just going to upgrade this to, what they call it, to the no one. All right, so that's upgrade. That's the prod. Sorry guys, this was totally beyond my hands. There was nothing I could do about this.
I think you said it well when you said, for whatever reason, it's not working.
Yeah, it just has a mind of its own. All right, so what I'm doing here is to replace, right? So the replacement that happens, I'm swapping out the environments that's tied to the DNS. It's not yet live, so you probably wouldn't see any difference, but that's just what is going on here.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is done. Of course, you can see that. So anyways, I'm out of time. And I wouldn't be able to take any questions because of time also. It's all right. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me on Twitter, or we can keep the conversation going, really. It's been a pleasure having this talk with you guys, and hopefully some other time we're gonna have it a lot better.